Come along with us as we explore the broad world of preservation and the work being done to preserve, interpret, and save our past in a 21st century world. From aquaculture to historic foodways to forensic modeling, we're talking weekly with experts from across the globe. This is your host, Nick Redding. Welcome to PreserveCast. Did you know that the Campaign for Historic Trades, which is powered by Preservation Maryland, is the sponsor of 3 registered apprenticeship programs? The campaign also hosts workshops across the nation, maybe even one in your backyard. Visit historictrades.org to learn more and find a way to learn a trade. This is Nick Redding. You're listening to PreserveCast. Today, we have the great opportunity to sit down with somebody doing something really interesting and exciting in the heritage tourism field. And we're going to be talking with Alex Green, who's the president and chief interpreter of the Harriet Tubman Freedom Center, located in Cambridge, Maryland, on Maryland's Eastern Shore, where with quite a bit of experience, he's also the co-founder of Harriet Tubman Tours with his wife, Lisa. And we're going to be talking all about that work and what he does to tell the story of Harriet Tubman and really bring visitors up close and personal with the world of Harriet Tubman. But before we get there, we like to get to know people, understand a little bit about them. Where did you grow up, Alex? And what got you so interested and excited about history? And then we'll sort of talk about Tubman Tours and the center. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, good question. Well, I had an amazing opportunity to grow up in one of the coolest towns in America called Bellevue, Maryland. So this is this African-American town that started around in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And it was centered around a white family called the Valiants, and they pretty much controlled the land. It was set out early in the years by Oswald Tillman to be a resort like Ocean City, but it never made the cut. So he named it Bellevue after his wife, Belle, and the land just sat vacant pretty much for some years. Then William Valiant came in and bought the property, bought all of that little peninsula there, and started bringing Black folks in. My family was one of the first, the Turners, and so it blossomed. He opened up an amazing cannery company, seafood company, the Valiants did, and started supplying his workforce with Black folks that he brought from different areas, like Baltimore, down in the southern region and different areas. And my great-grandfather was one. His name was William Turner. But fast forward a little bit, I grew up in this amazing town that settled down. My family now has a seafood company, and married to others in the area, one of the first Black seafood companies in the area, and grew up in this cool town, one-block town. And so my family were watermen, and so I grew up, crabbing, tonging, fishing, and all of that good stuff. So Bellevue is doing a lot of work now. They have the Bellevue Patches Museum that's going very strong to kind of document this unique little area that pretty much skates past the slavery piece, if that makes sense. It's never really any slavery holding in that area, but it was. I still love the town right today. So I grew up in Bellevue, Maryland. I consider one of the coolest towns in America.
Well, we'll have to do a whole separate episode on Bellevue because it is a great story. And so I'm curious, how do you go from Bellevue rather, and to where you are today, and give people a sense for how far away that is from Cambridge and sort of the connection between the two?
Okay. So how did I get to this place? It would be my grandfather. His name was Otis Turner. And he was an amazing boat captain. He worked for the Valiants, who I mentioned, and he was this great storyteller. He always, he was a matriarch of the family. He told a lot of stories of his journeys going from Bellevue to Baltimore, and he sailed a 2-mast schooner called a Dealand. And he told this story about all the people he met, the different nationalities of people when he went to Baltimore, the work he did. And it always intrigued me how he shared the story. He made it seem like you were on the boat and what happened and all that stuff. So that became a part of my world. Me and him became best friends. Me and him were just like two peas in the pod. Wherever he was, I was. And so that storytelling piece became a part of my life as I started my career in doing different things in leadership positions and all of these things. I sought out the skill of orating and, managing and all of those things that the skill set came from my grandfather. So it's about, I guess about road-wise distances, maybe 25 miles. 25 miles. The Oxford Bellevue ferry goes across one of the oldest ferries, supposedly in America, goes from Oxford to Bellevue. And that's pretty much where I have found myself and it's not been that long. It's been a part of my life. The history was taught to me. I was raised in a historical town. So the history kind of like followed me all through my life and to this point. So that's why I find it very rewarding to share this information with people. And then finding out, growing up in an area close to Frederick Douglass and St. Michael's, and learning about his life and started studying it and first just really diving into the history.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the amazing thing about Maryland is that probably our two most iconic and famous residents or people who are from Maryland are two of the greatest African-American sort of luminaries and names of American history, not just the 19th century, I mean, of all of American history. If you ask people, name two famous African-Americans, they might say Frederick Douglass and they might say Harriet Tubman. And not only are they both from Maryland, but they are, as the crow flies, probably maybe an hour apart from each other from where they live. So there's just this amazing concentration of nationally and internationally significant African-American history in one part of the United States. So it is sort of just this incredible location to tell these stories and to use those stories to talk about the broader implications in American history. So talk to us about how this guy grown up on the Eastern Shore in this cool town with this great grandpa, and how that then transforms into an opportunity to tell these stories when the infrastructure of Harriet's story gets built, in that now we have this visitor center and a national park, and there's this national focus on this story. How do you train? Because there's a lot of people out there who care about the story, who are excited about it, but not everybody transformed it into let's get people here and actually put the infrastructure in to tell the story.
Yeah, good question. I seen the need to share the story in a broader capacity. It was being shared across the byway, but diving into the personal history of these two people became my journey in the beginning. So after I got finished studying as much as I could, reading multiple books and doing these things, I found it necessary not to keep it to myself. I found it necessary to make it a broader story and invite people from all over the world, basically, to come to hear about these incredible figures. So I basically started a legitimate for-profit business called Harriet Tubman Tours. And I scaled it according to regular tour companies where you could visit a certain amount of time, get an experience. Because my wife, when we go to different locations, we definitely go touring and find out what the location's about, the history there. And I kind of like duplicated that same scenario with these two powerful figures. I just went into the life. I went to the old places where elders were. Some are still now living, or some are gone. My grandfather was one. And then I just started sharing the personal secrets of what they remembered growing up. What was these stories that they remembered about an old sawmill, or how the water in the landscape was different? What did they do? And kind of like went back into the story and brought that available to the public. basically sharing the personal secrets of a lot of multiple people. So it's been very good for us. We really enjoy doing it, my wife and I and others. So that's the basis of how we started with our tour business. We allowed the information that we retained to be shared with the broader public.
So tell me about, like, for someone listening. So now we're zeroing in on the details of what this experience is like. For someone who's not familiar with Cambridge, the Maryland's Eastern Shore, they're listening to this. They're in Kentucky. They've got no background on it, but they're excited about it. They're interested. What kind of experience will they get if they come, or what are the different options? And maybe paint a picture of the landscape as well, because this is a unique place.
Yes. Actually, yeah, good question. So I would find when I started learning about Harriet Tubman, that was Harriet Tubman. Everybody knows her as Harriet Tubman. But she would be born Araminta Ross in 1822. That's her birth. So I would say, well, we know a little bit, or we know enough about Harriet Tubman to know that she's a freedom fighter, she's an emancipator, she's this great woman that helps people out of slavery. But how did she do it? She was a young girl. She was a young woman. She was married once earlier. So what I decided to do with that was to make a tour called it's called Escape to Freedom, but the tour basically shares how she became Harriet Tubman. So we dive into this young girl at 8 years old when she's working in the Blackwater Marsh. Now, Cambridge is unique because it's really low to sea level, so we have a climate change issue here. Well, a lot of the history is going underwater, and we could touch maybe bases on the program that we're working on called Underground Underwater. But so it basically shares the locations and the information that she used early in the years to structure how she became Harriet Tubman, like being access or her skill set, her ability to communicate, her ability to remember locations, because she uses those same things that she learned earlier in the years when she becomes Harriet Tubman. So she's Harriet Tubman years before she's actually taking the name of that. But we have to know how she did that. She was trusted inside of slavery. It's unheard of. The trust value. I trust that you're going to go to the store and come back and not run away. I trust you. I trust that the food and stuff I cook for you, that it's going to be good and you don't do anything to it. It's so much trust level inside, but it's a control mechanism called slavery. It's more mental than it is physical. And we don't dive into it like that. We understand it as a bondage, which it is, horrible, owning people. But the thing is, she beat all of those odds. She's seen it early. She's seen what slavery really was. It was a control mechanism of the mind, telling you who you were, and you're enslaved to a location for a duration of life. So we share like the produce farm where she grew up, the courthouse and where the slaves were sold, and she orchestrated one of the famous escapes. So she has seen this place. And what does she do in 1849? She turns around and comes back to those same places that she experienced when she was a young slave. So that's how we make this story so intriguing to people, like, wow, I never thought about it like that. But then you have to look at it for what it was and what she did inside of it to free people.
Well, you're obviously a great storyteller. Your grandpa would be proud, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's exciting and it's interesting, and I think people are intrigued by it too, because you're taking stories and then putting them on the landscape, right? Like, you're letting the landscape, and in this case, it's not like a historic site that always has the building left. In some cases it does, but in some cases it doesn't. But the landscape speaks much more strongly in this experience than perhaps in some other, historic preservation experiences, like going to a Charleston and the actual building is there. It might not always be there, but the landscape is very evocative. And you talked about, I'm curious, we didn't talk about this in advance, but you have this new tour that's kind of looking at the issue of sea level rise. Maybe tell us a little bit about that, because that ties in directly to that landscape.
Yes. So, as I've been sharing this story for the last 7 years as a business, Harriet Tubman Tours, I would notice that the landscape is drastically changing. So, I'm making it a part of the story as I'm sharing with multiple people, multiple hundreds of people. And we're riding through the Blackwater River, and I'm noticing on my personal time, maybe kayaking or biking or doing something. My wife and I are just doing a little getaway or something. I'm noticing the landscape is changing. I noticed that the water's rising a lot. And so I'm starting to dig into and getting more into the science of it. I'm starting to see why is this, the climate change is real, but why is it so much affecting this area? Well, we'll find out the Dorchester County is really low to sea level. And I'm like, wow. So we start going to these pivotal sites like the Ben Ross site. It's a site where Ben actually lived and had 10 acres of land that was bequeathed to him by verbal, but not by legal. Um, um, you know, in the age of 40 some years old. But the project came to mind one day at my home office, and I was just thinking. I said, something's got to be done about this history, this important history that's going to be gone in the next 25 to 30 years. What can we do? So myself and some team members of mine came up with the project called Underground Underwater. So Underground Underwater is a program that's documenting these critical areas that's going to be lost in time. It's no way we can stop it, but we're going there and 3D scanning these locations, and we're going to recreate them in the time period in which they lived there, like scale the houses, using old buildings, kind of replicating what the houses look like, his cabin, um, slave quarters, Thompson, who was a slaveholder for years. And the one thing about this, too, here, slavery was a stark difference than in the South. So you wouldn't have the big palatial mansions. You would have more like a farmhouse. So you had a lot of farms here, not plantations. So the Underground Water project is dealing with documentation of locations that's going to be lost to history in the future for future generations, basically.
And I think it's just so great that, like, I mean, obviously you're so attuned to the landscape to have somebody, instead of just bringing in a team of people, it's somebody who's a storyteller on the landscape, familiar with it in such a way that somebody who just drops in wouldn't be. So, I mean, I think that there's like a lot of lessons here for the preservation community to listen to. Now, obviously, you're part of the descendant community of Bellevue, but talk to us about how you engage with, are there descendants? This might come as a surprise to some people. Are there descendants of Harriet and Frederick out there that you've engaged with?
Absolutely, yes. We just had a remarkable event here. It was the anniversary of Harriet Tubman's first escape. Uh, um, on Wednesday. So they put a brand new byway marker at the Brodus Farm. So the byway marker that was there has been there since 1967. And so it had misinformation on it. And the history they had, or the information they had there at the time wasn't correct. So they put a new one up. Julie Sablisky and her team, and we had the event at our Freedom Center. But multiple family members were here, and I know quite a few of them, and they're very near and dear to my heart on how they want to be engaged with their relatives' history. Frederick Douglass is the same way. I know quite a few of them as well. Growing up in the area in which he was enslaved, I went to school with some of them. I knew some of the elders, indirectly, didn't know how they were connected to Frederick. But yes, I do know them, and it's amazing to have that relationship with them, to be able to share. And they have given the blessings. Before we started all this is one of the first things I did. I found as many family members that I could recognize, and went to them and say, hey, we're getting ready to start something amazing here with this history, and we just want to know, how do you feel about it? One, and would you want to be engaged? And then, and do you have any problems with us sharing your family history? And it was very important to me, and and my staff and my wife, that they knew what we were doing, because we just didn't want to roguely just start sharing And we're very careful on how we do it now. You won't see no big billboards of Harriet Tubman Tour all over the country, and most people have to find out the information, seek it out, or I'm doing stuff like this, on a personal level that gets the word out to people. So yes.
Well, and that's a good question. Then, sort of like kind of a follow up to that, which is, what is the scale of it, and how many others are out there are doing it? I mean, it's sort of this new landscape. It's not like, Gettysburg, that's been around welcoming visitors for 150 plus years. This is relatively new in terms of the heritage tourism landscape. So there's obviously a lot of pent up interest. People are excited to be there. So I'm curious, how many tours are you doing, and what is the average tour group look like? Where are they coming from? Who are these people that are seeking this out?
So, through the years, we have scaled it from personalized to mid-sized groups to large group tour industry where we are sitting now. So we do anywhere from, I would say, large scale groups. Now we do anywhere from 60 to 70 a year, large. And that has been steadily increasing, and that's organizations like the Black Congressional Caucus, Earth Justice, a lot of high-profile groups that have came in, National Geographic. I mean, we've done a lot, and that's just to kind of give you a scale, not to try to make it look like it's so we have church groups and all, but we still have not taken the model away of the private tour. So if somebody calls and schedules a tour for two, we do it. And we haven't gotten to a point, and I don't think we ever will, as long as I'm around, that we will turn down the average person that wants to know the history. And if I'm available, I love to share the information with them, because they're seeking out information that's very important to the nation. I think that people understand truly what happened. So, guest count in the hundreds. I wouldn't say thousands, but I would say hundreds. You know what I mean? Because we definitely have a buffer on which we try to stay in. I could have, and my team and my wife and I and a few others have always thought about this, of basically scaling it to a place where we could address a lot of issues, not big as Gettysburg, but just a lot of people that really wanted to come. But we're working there because it's a need. The public really wants to engage in this. So that would be a good count of what we do.
And obviously there's like it's a rural community. It's, obviously you have Cambridge, which is sort of a center and, an urbanized center. But then you've got, as you go out into the community and you go out in the visits, it gets very rural very fast. So, I mean, it's a pretty, it's evocative landscape, but it's also a challenging landscape, I imagine, to visit. So the Freedom Center kind of plays into that as well, as sort of this hub. Talk to us about the Freedom Center. It's new. How does that dovetail and tie into all of this?
Yeah, good question. So during the COVID era, we were making great strides with the tour business. So we were definitely making progress with the business. It was looking very good for, I think it was maybe the third year. So that 5-year period, you kind of shaky if it's going to work or not, and whatever. And then COVID hits. So everything's shut down. The phone is still ringing. People are calling. They want to do a tour. So you can't legally put people in close proximities anymore. So we held off about maybe 2 to 3 weeks. We became essential travelers because we have a transportation business as well. And we started a program called Ride Along. And that would mean everybody would ride in their own cars. We would talk, we would get on a conference call line, people would dial in, and we would share the information going down the road. So we did that, and the Ride Along people were amazing. So we had up to maybe 25, 30 cars, and we was like, oh, we got to stop this. It's too many cars, traffic, all this stuff. And so that's where we started that. During that time, my wife was really big, and she still is big on the education piece. She kept saying, you're educating people about this. You need to start doing more engagements with the community and telling the history, not on the tour side, but on the educational side, which I had no problem with, but we really had no place to do it. So that's when we started the dining experience. And the dining experience came when we kind of like bring people together with the total experience of tour and food. So locations became pretty hard to rent and a lot. So we started seeking out buildings and acquisitions. And the Freedom Center came into play about 3 years ago. As we were looking around, a friend, a good colleague of mine, told me, say, hey, it's a perfect building for you and Lisa. Go take a look at it. And I rode around and said, that's a church. He said, yeah, man, but it's been vacant for like 7 years. So we dug into it, and then lo and behold, we're here. So we actually own and operate 9,000 square foot, formerly Latter-day Saints Mormon Church that's in Dorchester County. And we retrofitted it to make it into a history and culture facility. So it fits nice of what we do. We have banquet space, we have museum, gift shop, and all. So it became a part of the program to have a brick and mortar space for what we do, because it could be a launching point for our tours. We have the ability to do merchandise and create another whole experience inside of Dorchester County, along with the others. So History and Culture Museum is an added feature or an added jewel inside of Dorchester County, and that's what we have been striving and to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had the chance to visit it. It's very cool. I mean, it's, you guys are just kind of, exploring what can be done with some of the space. There's some really great experiences in it, some amazing art that's currently up in it. And like, what a great sort of feature for the heritage tourism landscape. I mean, it needs something like that in Cambridge to kind of welcome people, to be a place where they can acclimate, and then obviously you can feed them. So you mentioned the food, and I feel like that's a cool part of this, because food is a great gateway to history. It's a great way to, what better way to get at someone than to give them something delicious. Talk to us about the food experience that comes along with many of these tours.
Okay, so along with everything else we do, in years before, my wife, we love to host guests. We have pretty good sized families, both of us do. And I grew up in a family that did a lot of cooking, and the holidays were special, and my wife as well. So we get together and everybody cooks and all that stuff. So it became a part of our world. We both like to cook. So we kind of like formed a catering business. We did kind of like we did. It's called Creative Creation Barbecue. So I am about a second generation barbecue cooker from down south. My father's family, where I took my father's name, last name Green, are from a Gullah nation down in South Carolina, Greenville. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Barnwell, South Carolina, Orangeburg, South Carolina. So I grew up in the summers, some summers, down with my grandmother, and they spoke Gullah, and they cooked rice, beans, okra. I did the basket weaving. They did all that stuff. So I had that in my culture as well. So the cooking part comes in with the experience where we take you on a 3.5-hour tour. And these are for groups. And then Lisa and her staff cooks baked fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, collard greens, garden salad, homemade cake, iced tea. And then we do from a range from roast beef to all the way down, and we cater this for people, and they make a choice of what they want to eat as a group. We also do crab feast as well. So we just love doing that type of stuff. So it's something that you can engage in and call and ask that you want to do. We do several of them a year. But the local lore is what we were after, like the crabs, like the oysters, like the oyster and ham dinners and stuff like that that is known for these areas. Now we don't do muskrat because it's not FDA approved, so we don't do stuff that's not approved by by the Food and Drug Administration. So we kind of like keep it in the parameters of what can be served legally. But we have a full size kitchen here, so we were very glad to be able to engage in this space and be able to serve people with that experience.
Well, that's awesome. And I also think that for listeners who aren't from Maryland, they're not familiar with the delicacy that is muskrat. So if they really want to try it, I'm sure you've got a guy. Oh yeah. And how would you describe the flavor of muskrat?
Well, I can't. I really can't. And I share why. My father loved muskrat. He loved them. He would eat them 7 days a week, and my mother cooked them, and she wouldn't. Right. So, but growing up, seeing them very young and seeing them skin kind of gave me the willies. I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it looked. So when they cooked, I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't eat it. My mom would say, this is what's dinner tonight. We're having muskrat, and you're like, So it was, my mom was like the enforcer of the house. My dad was laid back, like whatever, And she was like, no, If you're not gonna eat the muskrat tonight, you're going to have to go to bed with some water and crackers or something like that. So I have never tasted one. I always joke and tell people I haven't got that hungry yet. Not saying I won't ever will. Not saying I ever will, but not at this point. I cannot tell you. My wife has tasted. She's experienced it, and she's one of the foodie experienced people. She like tasted octopus, all this stuff. I'm like, no, hold it. I can't do it. So I never tasted one. I can't say how it tastes, but I heard people say it tastes like chicken. I heard people say it tastes like chicken and fish. I don't know, but I'm not haven't gotten that point yet.
Well, that's all right. We won't hold that against you. I've heard it's gamey. I don't know. I've heard that.
Yeah.
So before we kind of move to a little bit of a conclusion here, I mean, I'm curious, just sort of from your perspective. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you hold a lot of these sites in high regard, but is there one site on the Harriet Tubman Byway, one site that you take people to that is just extra special for you, or something that you feel like is really evocative, really kind of sets the stage for Harriet's story?
Yes, it is. It is. Good question. It will be one site. One of the first sites I didn't discover myself, but came into knowledge of, is called the Linchester Mill. It's outside of Preston, and it's a 17th century grist mill that still stands, and it looks amazingly the same like it did back in the time. When I first discovered that site and started finding out the history, it brought the story to fruition, meaning that at that location, Araminta, before she becomes Harriet Tubman, meets the people that help her emancipate herself the first time. Their names were Hannah and Jacob Leverton. And the story is amazing because all the access, all the training, all the skill sets she learned and getting moved to another location in another county basically come all together basically in probably a few hours, because she knows how to travel. She's able to be trusted to go to these places, and the people that have the keys to the freedom are in the same location. So she just has to get that information and how to get the freedom. So the Linchester Mill would be one of the most intriguing places to me now. It's only like maybe 2 miles from my house. I go there regularly now, just to grab some energy from the place and get connected more with the story, because so many things happened there. The mix of free and enslaved working together, the information, the hard work they had to do, the unjust treatment that they received, but still inside of all of that, you still have that freedom. You have freedom all inside of that mix of information I just shared. And it's amazing to people to find out, one, and then two, act on it. they acted on it. And once they acted on it, Harriet Tubman just has to be at the right place at the right time and met the right people. And then she becomes Harriet Tubman right then and there, when she decides to take her destiny in her own hands.
Well, if anyone came into this interview and wasn't sure if they wanted to visit or not, I feel like after that description, you're going to get a lot of requests for people wanting to come and visit, because I can see why you can get some energy from a site like that.
Yeah.
So before we go, we've been asking people a couple different questions. One, we've got the 250th anniversary of the country coming up in 2026. And for some people, that's 1776. Or for some people, that's 250 years of American history. And I feel like Harriet and Frederick are these revolutionary thinkers. They're thinking revolutionary in a different way, but they are revolutionaries in their own right. How do you want to see the 250th play out, be commemorated, be celebrated, be recognized? Because there's a lot of different visions on what the 250th should be. How do you hope to see it from your perspective, running the business and doing the work that you're doing in Cambridge?
Well, simply put, I would like to see it as it was started and I'm not talking about the Constitution. I'm talking about the United States. United brings in a conglomerate of folks and working towards a common cause. So I would like to see more clarity and definitely more engagement. The work that's being done, that we are able to understand it in our own right and make an opinion and be respected for our opinions, but don't let it make a final decision on how we should go forward. Our future should be more brighter than our past. We definitely cannot afford to continue to relive certain things in our past, because it doesn't take us no further in the future. So the work that I do, I'm thinking about the future, my children, my grandchildren, and other grandchildren and other people's children, because of the simple, they're going to hold the keys to our history. They are going to mimic what we leave them. If we don't leave them something substantial to go forward with, they're going to repeat history more faster than we are today. So we have to give them something that they can use, something they can share, understanding where we are as a country only comes from what we experienced. We've experienced a lot, because we can't speak too much in the future, but we can make a destiny and a step towards it. We can do things to make it happen. So I would like to see it united. I would love to see it united more. And the work that I do, that's my common goal. It's not about Alex. I've been fortunate enough to be able to have the information shared with me. Now it's my job to share with others, and that's my thing. I'm not the biggest social media person, and I do what I do, but I'm never the one to want to be first inside of the camera or just try to, if it's needed, that's what I do. But, I want it to be the work that has been done that is speaking the future. That's my thing with that. And I would wanted to see our country more united than ever. And I believe we're heading there. We're heading there because I think the things that we go through make us stronger if we choose to embrace it and not repeat it.
Well, obviously, you bring a lot of that passion to this work, and I think that people will definitely take that from the experiences that you provide out there on the byway. If people want to get a hold of you, we'll put links in the show notes so they can grab that easy. But where's the best place to find you, to schedule a tour, all that kind of thing?
Well, I'm here 6 or 7 days a week now, but regular hours here at the Freedom Center. It's in Cambridge, Maryland. The address is 3030 Center Drive, Cambridge, Maryland, 21613. You can reach us at 866-642-7743. you would probably be talking to me or my wife. This is how we run the business right now. We continue to think that's the way to do it. When we do have others that work as well, but we handle a lot of the personalized calls because it's a personal experience. But those are the ways to really get in touch with us. If you don't get us right away, send us an email at tubmantours@gmail.com. We would be more than glad to engage in any questions that you have, or you want to take a tour, or just, which my wife really gets of. I just thought about this. My wife really gets on me about people calling, asking information. Sometimes I'm on the phone for 45 minutes, and she's like, "You just can't keep doing that. You got too much to do." But yeah, definitely give us a call if you need some. If you come to Tubman Country, if you come to Douglas's country, and you just don't want to take a tour, give me a call. Some places you would like to visit, hey, what would you think was the best place to visit? I'd be more than glad to share. But that's how you can get a hold of us. Get a hold of me and my wife, Lisa Green.
Fantastic. Love it. And we'll make sure that those links are in the show notes so people can just click on them and, jump on a call or shoot you an email if they're going to be in the area and want to get a tour scheduled. And the same for tour providers who might be listening. I'm sure that's the way to get a hold of you. Before we go, we ask everyone their favorite historic place or site. It doesn't have to be on the Tubman Byway. We won't make you pick unless you want to. But where is one place that you could go back to time and time again that you just love?
Oh man, it's so many. It's so many. I think the most engaging place for me that has really family connections for me is Gadsden Wharf in Charleston, South Carolina. And my family can be traced coming from Africa down to Gadsden Wharf. So that place is really special for me, and the African American Museum that's there. And also, I just want to put one more in there, is Harper's Ferry, Mr. John Brown. That's another amazing spot for me as well.
Hard to go wrong with either of those two. Very powerful, very powerful places, and sort of bookends to part of an early American story. So, Alex, what a pleasure it is to talk with you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. It's so important. It brings life to all of the work that preservationists have done for a long time, and I think you're the what so many people in the community hoped would happen, is that there would be people there to tell that story, to bring all of this to life. And so it's just such a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks you for everything that you're doing, and thanks for talking with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. You're doing amazing work as well.
PreserveCast is recorded in Maryland and is powered by Preservation Maryland, a nonprofit organization headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland. Since 2017, the podcast has told stories from around the world about how people are documenting, caring for, and interpreting the past. If you want to support this effort, please visit preservecast.org to learn more and keep on preserving.